Welcome to Take 5 with Father Tom, the Easter edition. So we just celebrated Easter, but it's not just one day. Easter is a 50-day season leading us to Pentecost. That's June 8th this year. It's a time to reflect now on, having celebrated Easter, how do we live out our Easter faith in the life of the church? Well, here in our Union Street Church, we have our portrait of Pope Francis. As you know, he was taken from us on Monday, and we're reflecting on his great life and witness of holiness. His funeral is upcoming, then a successor will be selected in the coming weeks. Just also a good time for us to reflect more deeply on what it is, what is the church, and what is the mission of the church and our role in it. And the first readings at the Masses during the Easter season are really great for focusing to us on that question. For most of the year, our first reading at Mass is from an Old Testament book, but during the Easter season, our first reading is always from the Acts of the Apostles. So it's a companion book that St. Luke wrote to his gospel. St. Luke's gospel deals with the earthly ministry of Jesus up through his resurrection. Then he writes the Acts of the Apostles. It begins with Jesus' ascension, the sending of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles, the 12 apostles at Pentecost. They begin the work of the church, and then the rest of the Acts of the Apostles is how through the apostles the church grows. And so it's a great way for us to reflect on this question in the Easter season. So our gospel for this weekend is from John's gospel. Jesus enters through the locked doors. He's there with the disciples. He breathes his Holy Spirit upon them and says, gives them the authority to forgive sins. What we're meant to see there is that it's through the authority of the Holy Spirit, through the gift of the Holy Spirit, that the apostles will carry on Christ's work through the church. And that's very much a theme that St. Luke picks up on in the Acts of the Apostles. So for our first reading for this weekend, it's from the 5th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles. So we kind of jump into the middle of things. Pentecost has already happened. Now the apostles are carrying on their ministry. And we begin the reading. Many signs and wonders were done among the people at the hands of the apostles. And then we read, people were being added to their numbers. And then we read this sentence, thus they even carried the sick into the streets and laid them on cots and mats so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on one or another of them. And then it continues, as many as who were brought were healed. What we're meant to see, what St. Luke wants us to understand is, it's not through their own authority that the apostles are healing. It's through the authority of Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit, that they're able to carry on his ministry. Just as Jesus carried on a healing ministry in his earthly life, so through the Holy Spirit, the church will continue the ministry of Jesus. So, important point we're meant to see in living out our Easter faith in the life of the church is that as a church we're called to the mission of carrying out the mission and the ministry of Jesus Christ. The other point that St. Luke stresses is the role of Peter. So St. Luke speaks of all of the apostles. They're all engaged in this ministry, but Peter is the representative. Peter is the leader. Particularly in the first part of the Acts of the Apostles that we're reading from, Peter is given that role of prominence. And this is an important point. So we say that the church is apostolic. Just as the Holy Spirit was sent upon the apostles, so through their work, the church began its ministry. But it didn't end with the apostles. We say that the bishops of our church continue the work of the apostles in leading, guiding the church, teaching, and the like. The Bishop of Rome is the Pope. So the Pope is really a successor of Peter, continuing that leadership role in the church. That's what we mean when we refer to the Pope. So as we go through this period of reflection in Easter season and reflecting on the life of Pope Francis and the role of the Pope, our first reading and these coming readings in the Acts of the Apostles will really help us come to a better understanding and appreciation of the role and the mission of the church in carrying out the ministry of Jesus, and then how we can participate in that. Just a couple of quick points. Thursday evening, that's tonight, at 6 p.m. at our Rosa Road Church, we're going to have our own parish memorial mass for Pope Francis. And then this Sunday at 5 p.m., Bishop Scharfenberger will be leading at our cathedral in Albany a memorial mass, for a diocesan memorial mass. So as we reflect on Pope Francis and the great gift of his life of holiness and ministry in the church, we can open our hearts to that and to the great message of the Easter season. God bless.